Hi everybody, my name is Megan. This is the introduction video that I hinted at on Wednesday. I'm so happy that you're here and I can't wait to introduce myself to all of you. Some of you know me very well. Others of you, this is the first time meeting me through this channel, and I'm excited that you're here. I thought it was important for me to introduce myself so that you have an understanding of who I am as a person before jumping into everything that has to do with my daughter and my son that I live with on a day-to-day basis. So basically, this is just going to be a short video introducing my life, who I am, and then just at the end of the video, I am going to give you an update of what is to come. So if you stay to the end, you'll have an idea of what this channel is going to all be about. So my name is Megan. I am a native-born Michigander. I was born and raised here. I went to university for education. I got my bachelor's degree in math and science and teaching K through 8. As I was doing all of these things, I was dating and I met my husband in that time frame, and we started dating in 2015, and I was still looking for a teaching position at that time, and I was not having any luck getting anything because schools around here, every public school, if you apply to one position, 150 people are applying to that same position, and I was just not having success. So I went to a job fair at one of the colleges out here in Michigan, and when I went to that job fair, I was offered 5 contracts from schools across the United States. I was offered a position within the school district, and they had a moving incentive. So I went back home and I talked to my boyfriend at the time, and I said, you know, this could be something that could be great. Let's maybe do it. And he basically backed me up and said, you know, this is a chance of a lifetime. Let's do it. And the day after our year anniversary, we packed up everything in a moving truck and my car, and we moved across the country to the state of California. Moved to California. We actually did not have like a house or anything like that. I decided that it would be in our best interest to basically figure out if we were going to stay by renting a vacation home. We stayed in a rental for 3 months and then decided that that's where we were going to stay for the time being. And we went house hunting and we found a beautiful home. It was a diamond in the rough home that we found. 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, beautiful pool in the backyard, kind of an oasis away from everything. A great vacation spot for my family and friends. That was super exciting, and we enjoyed every moment of it. It's kind of weird living in California because, like in Michigan, winter comes around and everyone kind of stays inside when winter comes around because it's cold and it's snowy and no one wants to be outside. But in California, where we were, specifically Southern California, when it became summer, it was everyone stayed inside because it got upwards to 120 degrees. So we would be outside in our pool and enjoying the weather, and we would be like the only ones outside, which was so weird. It was a completely different experience, but we absolutely loved it. I feel like we had permanent tans all the time during the summer, but it was a great experience. After getting the house, we started to build our empire. We were living and working and doing everything that we needed to do in the state of California, enjoying the beautiful weather, enjoying the new scenery, missing family, of course, but kind of making our own unique journey out in a completely different state, away from what we were totally used to. My boyfriend at the time, now husband, decided that he was ready to take the next step and wanted to propose. So that New Year's, he asked my parents. It's on. He asked my parents for permission, and February of the next year, he proposed. We went on a hike up a mountain, and I was going significantly faster than he was, and I turned around and he told me to slow down. And I was like, well, I got to get my workout in. I got to get 30 minutes in. And sure enough, he got down on one knee and proposed to me on top of a mountain that was basically in our backyard. So we got engaged, and our plan was to do a little bit longer of an engagement because we needed to save up for the wedding. But it turned out that we were able to get married within the year. So the next year we got married in the state of Michigan with all of our friends and family, and it was an awesome, amazing, beautiful ceremony and reception, and it was so much fun. We had record-breaking heat, so everyone was pouring sweat, but it was a great time, and I wouldn't have changed it for the world. After we got married, we decided that we did want kids. We kind of went back and forth on whether or not we were going to have children or not, but then we finally decided that ultimately we really did want to have children in our life. So we started the process of trying to get pregnant. And trying to get pregnant with our daughter took almost 2.5 years. It was a process. We just were going to start checking and seeing health situations on both of us to see what we needed to do with our next steps. And as we set up that appointment, literally I found out that next week that I was pregnant. Didn't have to start the process of why we weren't getting pregnant or what was going on. We got pregnant, and that was that. So we got pregnant in July of 2019, and then she was due March 14th, 2020. And the pregnancy was really easy, smooth sailing. I didn't have any issues. I maybe was sick for a couple weeks in the first trimester. But other than that, my best description of my pregnancy was, besides for me gaining weight and getting a belly, I would never have known that I was pregnant. And I enjoyed every single second of it. So we went into the COVID world, and as I was getting closer and closer to my due date, we were having this whole pandemic start to happen. And I was getting a little bit more nervous about the situation of giving birth in the hospital, and then what was it going to look like after we got out of the hospital. So I went into the hospital on Friday. I actually had pictures of President Donald Trump at the time making the announcement that the United States was going to be going into an emergency lockdown starting on that Monday. So I looked at my husband and I said, are we going to be able to go into the hospital and give birth? Because I do not want to give birth in my home. And he said, no, we'll be just fine. So we went to the hospital Friday around 2:00. And the rules were changing minute by minute while we were there. So I was able to have 2 guests to start. And then by 8:00, I could only have 1 guest, which was my husband. And then by the next morning, there was no visitors allowed in the hospital rooms in any way, shape, or form. But they did make the exception of the maternity ward, allowing somebody to stay in the room. And so my husband was able to stay in, but the entire hospital shut down. So every single person, it was just the person in the room, which was scary. It was a crazy time. It was weird. It was confusing, but I was very grateful that at that moment in time, I was able to have my husband in the room, and he never had to leave in any way, shape, or form. So we were able to experience having our first child with it took me 40 hours to give birth, which was a long process, but I did get the epidural, and that just kind of dragged it out a little bit more. And we finally gave birth March 14th to a beautiful, healthy little girl. She was healthy. There was no concerns in any way, shape, or form. And we went home. We went home within a day and a half. So after getting home, we just started the process of being parents. After having our daughter, we decided that we did want to have a second kid. In this decision, we also were in the process of selling our house because the profit that we would be able to get from selling our house during the time of the market being hot was super great. So we were in the process of selling our house. And then we still were going to stay out in California for another year or two. We weren't sure yet. We hadn't made a final decision on what we were going to do. We just knew that we wanted to sell our house, be able to help ourselves financially, and then we would make the decision in a year or two whether or not we were going to stay in the state of California or if we were going to move back to the state of Michigan. So in that decision-making process, we actually ended up moving into a 42-foot fifth wheel. We lived in an RV resort out in California for a year. And so I had an infant. We had 4 dogs at the time. And we lived in this RV for a year. And during that time, this is when we were really seriously working on trying to get pregnant. And we did end up getting pregnant in the RV. So we not only were living in a 42-foot fifth wheel, but we had the infant, we had services going on for her at the RV, we had our 4 dogs, I was pregnant, getting pregnant, more pregnant by the second. Went in on July 3rd. I told the doctors we're holding off July 4th, so don't do anything crazy until, we hit that midnight mark, and we all laughed about it. Of course, I was doing everything that I needed to do to keep the birth process healthy, but we just joked the time in the hospital room that we're just waiting. We're just gonna push in July 4th. But it worked out. We did actually end up having him July 4th around noon, and he happy, healthy, came out 8 pounds 11 ounces. So I'm not sure how he was measuring small, but he was a little chubmeister, and so we had a son, and that was that. A little bit different experience in the hospital because it was now where it's 2022 and we have new stipulations, new rules and regulations. We were allowed to have a couple of guests after the birth. So my mom, again, flew out for the birth of our son, and she was there and was able to come to the hospital and meet him. So that was really exciting. That was an experience that I didn't get to have with my daughter. No one could come to the hospital to visit. So everybody kind of visited. If we had visitors, because it was COVID time, everyone had to visit at our house. So 2 completely different experiences, which was super fun, super unique to giving birth. Like, not very many people have like, oh yeah, this birth had this, and then this birth was completely different because the pandemic was coming to an end. So we had our son. He experiencing jaundice, so we had to go into the UV light box. He had to stay in there for the night, and after that we were able to go home. We got home. Our daughter was not a huge fan of her new little brother, so again, that will be something that I discuss more as we get into her diagnosis, and that's hopefully going to be next week's video is my plan. So we went through some struggles, major struggles with our daughter interacting and having this new being in our house. So living in the RV was working out for us. It was nice. It was small. You could clean it super easy. It was great. So we ended up deciding that we were going to move back because we wanted our kids to be able to be around cousins, around family, around friends, because out there we were just by ourselves. So we decided that we were going to move back, but then we went back and forth on deciding if we were going to move back for real. So we started looking at houses out in California before we actually 100% confirmed that we were going to move back and we put an offer in on a house, and it got approved. And so we actually were, I say, days away from making the commitment that we were staying in the state of California. Then the information came back to us about what our bills would be, and we decided that financially it was not going to work out for us, because the market was getting crazier by the second, and we just couldn't keep up with the market. So we decided, okay, that's it. We're not going to keep looking at houses. We're going to go back to Michigan, and that was the decision that was made. So before we moved back, because we needed insurance to help us with services that our daughter would need when we moved back to the state of Michigan, my husband actually moved back before us. So I was pregnant. I had our daughter. He moved back April 8th, and I stayed and gave birth July 4th. And then I continued to stay in the state so that I could get vaccinations done for our son up to 2 months, so that I didn't have to rush to find a pediatrician immediately the second we got back to the state. I wanted to make sure our kids were like up to date on everything before we moved back. So we did. I was out in the state of California from April until August 28th without my husband. My mom came out for the birth. My husband came out for the birth, so he did not miss it. He was there. And my mom actually ended up staying until we moved back to the state. So I wasn't alone, but it was, it was tough. We were all living in an RV, and we knew moving was happening, and it was just a crazy time, crazy stressful time. So we moved back, and we've been here since August. Well, I've been here since August. My husband's been here since April. And we moved in with my parents and stayed there for a couple months, and had an opportunity presented to us that there was a condo that was available for rent, and it was within our price range. So we moved into the condo, and that is currently where we are now. And happy as ever. We're around family, we're around friends. Our daughter's getting services that she needs on a day-to-day basis. I'm a stay-at-home mom, which is great. I wasn't able to do that out in California. And my husband is a heavy equipment operator out here, and just making things work. So that's about me. I'm sure this video is not as exciting as like, oh, I want to hear about autism. I want to hear about what's going on with your daughter. I want to hear what's all that about. But that's just kind of how I got here. This is where we are. This is just a normal person living life. And we have, we got the challenge, an amazing challenge of having a daughter with autism. A lot of people like to think like, oh, well, it's because you did this and you did that, and you lived here and you did all these different things. And nope, I'm just a normal adult that did normal things. So with this channel, I plan on I'm hoping to do a short a day, just kind of reflecting on what is the experience that I had for the day. So I can vlog my feelings, my emotions, what's going on, what successes or what failures may have been happening for the day, so that I can reflect back and you can all see that like, this is just a day-to-day thing that we're doing, and you get to be a part of it. And then I want to do a longer video on the weekends, maybe answering questions that some people may have, specifically my journey with my daughter. So next week's video, the plan is to discuss how I knew that our daughter had autism and what those steps looked like to get to where we are now. So it'll be all about the time frame of when we started seeing things, and just kind of giving our personal journey and information, because everybody's is completely 1000% different. So if there's anybody who's watching this who is kind of experiencing similar things, you don't have to feel so alone. And you can be a part of our family, our wonderful family that is just living day to day and just enjoying every moment of it and seeing the world in a completely different way. Thank you for watching. If you are interested in being a part of this adventure and becoming an advocate, or maybe you're somebody who has a child who could possibly or is possibly showing signs of autism, or maybe you have family members or friends that you want to know a little bit more on how to help and support, like this video, subscribe so that you are involved on a day-to-day basis, and I can't wait to experience this with all of you. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.